For 6 long days in the spring of 1980, Arab gunmen held 26 people hostage in the Iranian embassy in London.
An armed man has forced a policeman on duty outside the Iranian embassy in London to go inside the building. He's now said to be being held at gunpoint.
Armed police wearing bulletproof vests have surrounded the embassy building and ambulances are on hand.
In fact, inside the embassy, 6 armed men have taken 26 people hostage. Mrs. Thatcher ordered in the SAS, the army's military elite.
We're on pages on different states of readiness. We are trained so many times.
Police action at this time is to establish negotiations with the hostage takers and to secure the release of the hostages without any further violence.
With a major terrorist incident in the heart of London, the government machine swings into action. The minutes are ticking away. No one knows who the gunmen are or what they want. For Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, the siege is the first test of her uncompromising rhetoric on terrorism. What was Mrs. Thatcher's line on the gunmen?
We really need to be ready for it.
As the hostages prepare for their first night in captivity, the gunmen are still demanding the release of their 91 jail comrades. But the news from Iran brings no hope of an early end to the siege. Under the cloak of darkness, the SAS silently slip into Regent's Park Barracks, just 3 miles away from the embassy. Operation Nimrod is about to begin. The gunmen set a deadline of 12 noon. Then the executions begin. Chris Kramer smelled freedom at 11:20, 40 minutes before the noon deadline.
One of the gunmen said in English, "You walk straight, don't turn left, don't turn right, don't turn round, otherwise I'll kill you." And so I did precisely that and walked out.
A crouching figure stumbled through the front door of the embassy, across the pavement and between the parked cars. For a few seconds, the policemen in the neighbouring doorways did not apparently register that it was one of the hostages, but it was one of the BBC newsmen, Chris Kramer, and he was obviously in pain.
I was escorted to an ambulance. Stop the ambulance, you know. There are gunmen in there with hand grenades, and there are 6 of them, and I was terrified that they were going to storm the embassy, thinking there was maybe only 1 or 2.
We weren't going to go in unless anybody was killed. That had come straight from Downing Street, as far as we knew. Margaret Thatcher's policy was, we do not negotiate with terrorists.
The deadline arrives. No shots, no explosions, no deaths. But the gunmen repeat their threats to kill their captives. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner makes a plea to the hostage takers.
The gunmen inside the Iranian embassy must know that it is not within our power to meet all of their demands.
The SAS are now ordered to move within striking range of the gunmen. That night, they transfer their operational base to a building next door to the embassy. Highly sensitive listening devices that are secretly planted inside the embassy. Some are dangled down chimneys, others are inserted through walls. Other resources are conjured up to try and deaden the drilling. A field telephone is sent in. From now on, they can only communicate with the outside world through a team of police negotiators.
They're isolated in a house. They can't communicate with anybody.
The police play Mr. Nice Guy and send in provisions, but in fact they're secretly snatching photographs and collecting fingerprints to build up profiles of the gunmen.
I was representative of the Metropolitan Police on the inside, and I didn't want to let anybody down.
With Mustafa to interpret, the gunmen allow PC Locke to negotiate with the police outside, a responsibility he accepts to lighten his sense of guilt.
Well, I always used to wear my hat when I went to the window, because I realised who I was. I was the policeman that was there to sort it out.
They're desperate for the police negotiations to succeed and frustrated at the apparent stalemate. They're terrified it may all end in bloodshed. The police arrange for a takeaway, and for the first time in 4 days, gunmen and hostages enjoy a meal together. Inside the embassy, the strain is taking its toll.
Mustafa was my main man in there. He was my interpreter. We worked very hard together.
Mustafa staggers out of the embassy, not knowing if he will ever see his friends again.
He'd been a great link with them. And I said to Trevor, basically we were the last two.
The gunmen are becoming increasingly desperate. There's deadlock. Sim and Trevor plead for the ambassadors to come. They know they're their only lifeline. Salim's patience has run out. It's now a matter of life or death.
He was about to be eliminated, but there was a gleam in his eye. There was no sadness, there was no struggle or no, not me, that sort of thing.
Then I think it was 3 shots.
Followed by 2 more shots. That was bang.
Lavasani's body lies in the hall of the embassy for nearly 6 hours. The shocking reality is finally revealed when his corpse is thrown from the embassy door. The post-mortem shows that Lavasani has been shot twice in the head and once in the chest.
They've killed 1 now. What difference is it going to make if they kill 2 or 3? Now they've started to play those cards.
Salim said to me, "What will the police do now?" I said, "I've never lied to you. I don't know what they're going to do now. This has never happened in England before." I said, "The best thing you can do now is to give up